Welcome back. Yes, flogging as a disciplinary measure is fast becoming a habit in most Nigerian schools. The situation may attribute to the decadence amongst students these days, while others believe that teaching must necessarily not include the use of cane. We also ask, should beating of children in schools be allowed? Whose responsibility is to discipline the child? Joining us on the show to discuss is an educational consultant, Ms. Adiola Salau.
Adetola.
Salau. Welcome to the show. You can call us on 070-806-6801. You can tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag Yourview TV so you can read your tweets. Before we go into disciplining of children, what are your thoughts on the incident that happened that we just discussed on Hot Topics?
Okay, I was listening to you in the background, and I really believe that before that father reacted, just like she said, there must have been things that happened previously in the school, precedents, for him to have overreacted the way he had. Because people don't just behave in a vacuum. Certain things lead to certain behaviors. So we need to get those facts first before we make conclusions.
But you agree it's an overreaction.
So
what should have happened if nothing had ever happened like that before?
If nothing had ever happened like that before, I believe the principal, and like you correctly said, the school nurse and the teachers should have sat down to talk to the parents appropriately. That look at what happened. We saw this, we saw that. A clear incident report.
They said they had no idea.
Even if you did not have an idea whether that injury, how that injury came about. But if you sit down with the parents and say that, we don't know how it happened, but we have given her first aid, we've treated it, but please, I would like for you to take her and
you are misunderstanding. While
they weren't even aware that the child had an injury, is what they're saying.
That's what I'm saying. That is where the negligence is. That's where they were
and
wrong.
They're supposed to undertake investigation. And they're supposed to undertake investigation to find out what happened. Interview other children. Interview other teachers, interview even cleaning staff. They do see a lot. They know a lot. And yes, they are. You'll be surprised.
For the part of expelling the child, because according to the letter that the principal wrote to the school, the teacher involved resigned when this happened. So if the teacher resigned, and this is a toddler that possibly this child was assigned, this teacher was assigned to this toddler in particular, and their justification is, she has resigned though. We can't handle the care. Please come and carry your child. Do you agree with that decision, or do you think they should have at least found a way to accommodate that child?
I don't agree with that decision. What kind of signal are they sending out to other parents? That they don't know how to handle toddlers and they don't have a really good screening process for their teachers? I don't agree. What they are supposed to do is address it at the root. Talk to the teacher, and we need to talk about bringing in psychology in our schools. That's another thing that's really key. That's a long discussion for us to talk about right now, but it's really key. Because how do you explain a teacher just saying that I don't know what happened? No. They already know what the children are up to. Okay, that boy, he's always very rough, he's very interactive, oh, she's very enthusiastic, oh, she's a bit withdrawn. All teachers with their time, of interaction with their children, they have an idea of how they are. Yes, they might not have seen what happened, but they should be able to tell you and predict to some degree.
I won't blame the school for advising that there should be, they should withdraw, because I think that considering the reaction of the man even by himself, as a parent, I wouldn't take my child back to the school if I had instituted a case against the school. It seems funny for you to take your child back to the school where you feel that they have not done a good job of taking care of your child. One. Number two, the teacher resigning is a good step, but the school now should give a better action of saying, we will revamp how we monitor children to ensure there are no lapses and there's no gap without supervision of the child.
That leads me to the topic we wanted to discuss concerning disciplining children, because the issue of discipline comes up all the time. Oh, they used to beat me when I was a child, or I don't want you to beat my children, or what's the word, spare the rod and spoil the child, all sort of advice on different corners. How do we discipline a child today, in today's setting, in schools especially? How do you discipline a child?
I believe in positive discipline.
Okay.
I do. And positive discipline is about guiding children's behavior, watching and looking out for their emotional, I'm going back to psychology, psychological needs. Children have needs, just like we do. They have the need to be recognized, just like we do. They have the need to be loved. They have the need to also be cared for. That was what, yes, and respected. That was what wasn't taken care of here. So they have these needs. We need to train our educators to be able to recognize and meet up to those needs. Yes, darling.
If an educator does not have those needs fully met, satisfactory, how would they now, because you cannot give what you don't have. If the educators have issues, how would they be able to handle a child that's emotionally... No,
that's it.
She said children need it, but if the educator on that, in that, what's it called, the educator, me as a teacher, I have problem, my husband is beating me in the house, my children, they are whatever, how would I be able to transmit that? So how should the school identify teachers that are also depressed, so they don't take out the frustration on the child?
That's a very good point. And a key thing that we're dealing with in Nigeria is the fact that we have high mental stress percentages. So I'm serious, we do. And that's the problem I have with corporal punishment, in that a lot of times people take out their frustration on other situations and met it out negatively on the children. And that's why I really believe in positive discipline, which means you really stick to the issue and address it. For example, the child did not do his homework. You say, you know what, I'm going to put you to that corner, you're going to do your homework. The child pushes someone, you address that behavior, make him take ownership for what he has done, and immediately say, okay, I'm going to make you do something else.
There are some naughty children.
We are coming to that. There are other methods. You constantly keep on switching, because that's what it is. But to say, you know what, I'm going to flog you. And remember, you might be frustrated yourself, and then you now take out that frustration and come on now.
I want to say something, I want to say something that has worked for my son. I tend to... I'm very free with the road. I don't spare the road, you know. But my son resumed September with a new teacher, and he comes back home and says, I have to write my work neatly. My teacher won't be happy with me. And I'm looking at him like,
bingo. That's it.
She is so bonded with his teacher. The teacher was able to connect with him, and without beating him. Oh, if you write the way I taught you to write, when you get to school, the teacher told me that, tell him that write the way Mr. Olamide said you should write. You know, so because he gets home and he starts writing, like he can cover the entire book with tortoise. And yet in school, he would write it within the line. So he gets home and I say, write it the way your teacher wants. Yesterday, he made a mistake and he was like, my book, I cleaned it. My teacher will not be happy with me. She will tell me to face the naughty corner. And I realized that
she keyed to his emotional needs.
Yes,
and she used psychology to twist him. You see, so you don't have to punish. You don't have to. And my thing with beating is that a lot of times they end up turning around to use it on other people. If you teach a child that the only way to handle any problem is by aggressiveness, by violence, that's all he's going to constantly do. But if you teach them that, you know what, I need to go back and think, how do I fix this? What are the alternative methods I can use? Okay, I can try this, I can try that. He has keyed into her, and she keyed into him. His need for acceptance. Remember, I said psychology. That's it. His need for acceptance by her. Let
me say something, because there's a proliferation of so many schools in Lagos right now. How do you even like every second there's an international school opening up somewhere. Somebody just one private school.
British curriculum.
So, there's just so many schools. How do we get them to have these kind of proper training? Because it's annoying. That's why a school somewhere in one corner can expel a child because of an injury. I mean, like, how do we fix this?
I'm singing my song. My song is, how do we fix this? We need to transform the system, period. Yeah. We can't just say, yes, you go ahead, open a school. There needs to be setting things in place. Bingo, criteria, setting things, okay, you're going to train them. We're going to work on cognitive development. We're going to work on their social development. Train them. I went to a school to go work with them. And I was talking about learning strategies and the different learning styles that students use to learn. And I drew a blank. And I was like, are you kidding me? You're all educators, just like I am. And you don't know about learning styles. You don't know that some children are visual learners. You don't know that some children are auditory learners. I mean, are you kidding me? And you're going to be sitting there just droning on and on and on. And you cannot employ and use these different ways to engage them. I was surprised. I had to break it down little by little. But it was a very quick lecture on something else. So I couldn't really go in depth with that. So that really brings me back to exactly what she's saying. These schools and the state ultimately and the nation needs to say, you know what, yes, you want to open a school, fine. But before you open that school, we want to have your teachers come in. We want to train them. We want to make sure that they meet this standard.
Well, can I ask you a question? Let jump in here. Yeah, go ahead.
You know, most of the schools that we have around here, they are not proper schools because they do not have a board that they are accountable to. It is one man that just thinks, okay, I can make money, school is booming, and they open a school. So it is a one-man decision, a sole running administrator. You're running the business, you're running it like it is your parlor, and there's no proper board to account. Because in this kind of a school now, in this situation, if there was a board, do you think that decision would have been a one-man decision, or they would have sat down, deliberated on the situation, and said, okay, let's find a way forward?
They're singing my song again. We need to transform our education. We need more accountability. We need more parental involvement. I mean, from the ground up. And
but what's the difference between our time and today? Because then spanking worked to some extent. Some people actually were spanked.
But he also raised, like Jimoka always says, he also raised very, very rebellious children.
May I jump in here to say that I met my primary 6 teacher, Mr. Gbenga, at the mall recently. I knew that I knew the face, but he watches on TV and said, I know you from somewhere, and I just connected it. Mr. Gbenga, I nearly dropped out of school because of you. Imagine that. It hurt him. He was quick with his cane. I'm not one that you beat. I'm one that you talk to.
See that?
I hated him, and I said it to him. I would have dropped out of school because of you. So it doesn't work for every child.
All right, we can take a break on that. When we come back, we're going to continue to take more phone calls and tweets. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned.